Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, PlayFast Football. Make sure you check out some of our sponsors with PlayFast. All right, Defensive Coordinator 1 is an app that just came out in January. It's going to let you use in-game data to make in-game adjustments. All right, so now you're going to actually have the data that is the plays and the formations and the things that are actually being run that night against you by the other team. And now you're going to know exactly what's being run, and you're going to know how it's being run against what you're calling. So you can use that live in-game data to make your critical in-game adjustments and help you and your kids, all right, make those adjustments on the fly in-game at halftime and hopefully get you some better results. Just Play Football is a diagram tool that I use when I'm diagramming plays for clinics or webinars or anything that I'm doing that needs a drawing. All right, it's also got some great features to it that help your kids with game plans, and they can take quizzes on the game plan, so it helps your kids understand what the game plan is. It helps your coaches understand what your kids do and don't know. It's a great software, great tool. That's my diagramming tool. I suggest you use Just Play Football. All right. GameStrat, which is the #1 most reliable, most affordable sideline replay system on the market. We used it last year. We absolutely loved it. Great customer service, friendly guys at the company that really want to get their product out there, and they do a great job with their product and a great job representing their company, and we love working with them, so make sure you check out GameStrat. MAXOne, which is an app, streamlines organization, communication, workouts all under one platform. You could set up practice schedules. You can set up your practice game schedules, camp schedules. You can set up your workouts. You can communicate if anything changes. If workouts or times, games, dates need to change, you can communicate through the app. If kids go out of town, they can do workouts through the app without having to take a picture of what the workout is that week or that day. They know what the workout is. You can track leaders. You can track performance. So it's a great platform to stream everything in one direction. All right, and then Dome Hats, it's custom and quality hats, beanies, and visors, founded by 2 former Florida Gator football players. All right, so they understand what we go through as coaches. All right, it's a great product. I love their hats. Been wearing their hats for probably 10 or 12 years now. So I love the product, but I also love the people behind the product. And they're trying to, they're trying to get out nationally now, and they're doing some really good things on social media. They got some really good deals going on, so make sure you check out Dome Hats. All right, today we wanted to talk about going into camp. I know everybody's getting ready with their install and getting ready for camp practices, and also what I wanted to talk about was install, stay the course. And what I mean by that is when you set up your install leading into camp, your install is usually going to be set up based on players you got returning, their strengths and weaknesses, things you think you need to do to move the ball, players on your team that probably need to get the ball, all right, things you need to do to win the biggest games on your schedule to get you to the playoffs, win your district title, win your state title. All right, so when you put a lot of work in the offseason into your install, what you have to understand is, all right, you've got to be able to stay the course if you don't have early success. All right, early success in a season, it has a lot to do with a lot of different factors. All right, I'll give you an example from a college setting. All right, if there's a 1AA school that's playing a Division 1A school week 1 or week 2, all right, before they play their conference schedule, they go out and they've got to make money, so they play a big money game with a big 1A powerhouse school, and they lose that game 55-7. They can't sit there and look at the results of that game and analyze their scheme to figure out whether that is or is not the right scheme for them. All right, there was a big talent gap. All right, there was a difference in talent that didn't allow their schemes to be effective. All right, so they need to be looking at their players. Are they playing the right players? Are they playing the right players in the right position? Who can handle the stress? Who can handle the pressure? Who can't handle it? They shouldn't really be looking at the scheme itself, because it's not fair to look at a scheme that you've spent months preparing and planning and say, we got to throw that out the window because it didn't work against Alabama or it didn't work against Oklahoma. All right, if you are a 1AA school. Okay, same thing's going to happen in high school. You're going to have games. We don't start our district play till week 4. We're going to have 3 games before we start district play. All right, if one of those or 2 of those or all 3 of those, whatever it may be, depending on what high school you're at, if those games are against bigger schools or more talented schools or schools that are, perennial playoff or state contenders, and you base your success of your schemes off of the results in those games, what's going to happen is, more often than not, you're always going to scrap what you were doing and try and come up with something new to do, which is not cost efficient, because at the end of the day, if you spent your time in the off season and in the summer and in camp installing certain schemes and certain philosophies, all right, to get rid of those or scrap those and become a different team by week 4, is not cost efficient. It's not, all right, it's not beneficial to your program to spend all that time in the offseason and scrap it in the first 3 weeks. Now, I will say the only exception to that is if you lose a certain player, usually it's the trigger man at quarterback, all right? Sometimes it could be a certain wide receiver or a certain running back. If you lose a guy that you absolutely cannot replace, and the schemes are not the same with that guy, and you've got to change, or if you lose 1 or 2 linemen, and you feel like you cannot run that scheme with those linemen, you're smaller now, but you run a little better, and you got to go to a different scheme, that's a different scenario. If you have all the players that you thought you were going to have, and they're all healthy, all right, and you don't have the results you were looking for week 1 or week 2, you got to steady the ship, you got to stay the course, you got to get back on track, techniques, fundamentals, execution. All right, so normally, what's going to happen is techniques and fundamentals and execution aren't where you need them to be for those schemes to be successful. But keep in mind, okay, if you take a 1AA school that goes out and plays a Division 1A school, a lot of times the techniques, fundamentals, and execution aren't what they need to be because the talent gap is so different between those two that the technique and the execution, all right, didn't get a chance to take over. All right, so if I'm working on my golf game in the offseason, all right, and I'm working on some things in my swing or in my short game to make me a better player, all right, and I go out and I play a PGA Tour player and I get beat by 8 shots by that PGA Tour player, all right, I can't analyze the fact that I got beat by 8 shots by a PGA Tour player. I can't analyze my techniques, execution, and fundamentals. Now, in a game like golf, I can obviously analyze it based on the score that I shot and the golf course that I played. But in a competitive setting, if I go out there and do those things and get beat by 8 shots, I can't look at it and say, well, I got beat by 8 shots, I got to go back and try something totally new. If I'm playing baseball and week 1, I'm playing a Cy Young Award winner, all right, and I've worked on all these changes in our hitting philosophy in the offseason, and week 1, we play a Cy Young Award winner that has 18 strikeouts, I can't change everything that I've been working on with my hitting mechanics and my hitting philosophies that first game and say, you know what, scrap that, we didn't get any hits, or we only got 2 hits, we didn't hit any out of the park. Well, no, you just played a Cy Young Award winner who's one of the best pitchers in the game. That's going to have an effect on your performance. So when you're talking about your install, you got to know who's on your schedule, who you're playing, what are you analyzing, all right? And for us, most importantly, we got to get ready for district play because where we are in the state of Florida, our district games mean the most, all right? Winning our district puts us an automatic bid in the playoffs. Then how we do with it, the rest of our schedule puts us at a possible at-large bid. So every game matters, all right? And I'm not saying that certain games are not important. We have local rivalry games that are real big for us. But our district games will always be the most important because if we won every district game, we wouldn't have to worry about the other games. We could go 4-6 and still make the playoffs. So those district games are the most important. So for us, we start district play week 4. I want us to be ready to go with our offense and our defense week 4. All right. The best way to get there is to continue to work through the first 4 weeks on our technique, our execution, our fundamentals to make our scheme successful. All right. The worst way to get there is to look at results after week 1 and 2 and make changes going into week 3, and then when week 4 comes, we're only 1 week into a new offensive scheme or a new offensive system. It's not productive, it's not cost efficient, unless you've had significant injuries that have made you make those changes. Different argument, different scenario, different conversation. Okay, but if I don't like my results off of week 1 and week 2, I got to go back and analyze a couple things. Who did we play? Did we play really good opponents that were going to be tough no matter what scheme we ran? Did the scheme not work because of talent, or did the scheme not work because of execution? All right, or did our execution and our fundamentals really never have a chance because we were playing, all right, a team that the talent gap was so far that we never got a chance to execute? So, as a high school coach, unfortunately, in public high school football, you better understand some of those things because for a lot of you out there, if you're like me in the 20 years I've been doing this, there's a lot of games where when you get out in that stadium, you're going to need everything to go right. You're going to have to play your best because the talent gap in high school football is so dramatically different, okay, that, you're not going to have a chance to really evaluate what you're doing. If you look at college football, even though, there's some teams getting better in college football and, the disparity between the teams isn't maybe quite as big as it used to be in some conferences, but at the end of the day, the same 2 to 3 teams are competing for the national championship the last 5, 6, 7 years are the same 5 programs. You can count on your hand the same 5 programs that have had a chance to possibly win a national championship. Okay? So what that tells you is even in college football, there is a pretty good talent gap in conferences and on schedules where college coaches have to understand that there's going to be certain weeks that you didn't compete that week, you didn't play well, but you don't scrap your whole scheme or your whole system and everything that you worked on in the offseason because of that week, because the difference in talent probably has a lot to do with why you didn't play so well that week. Okay, so, for us, this is just just kind of a look at some of the things we've done the last couple of years. It is not our install schedule. It is not exactly what we do, every down, every year. This is just things that we've done the last couple of years. So in the run game, we've been a veer scheme, all right, or a gap scheme, and our read game, and our RPO game. We've been a power team. We've been a dart team. We've been a buck sweep team. Those are the 4 things we carry in our run game, okay? If week 1 or week 2, those things aren't successful, and I've spent all summer and all spring and all off season, all right, on the board, getting our kids to learn our offense, installing things in the summer, working on our guys, understanding our plays, and I get our line to where I want to be 95% efficient on our assignments, all right, 95% efficient on our assignments, which means, I want to get close to that 100% mark where we don't go the wrong way, we don't block the wrong guy, we're worried about techniques, fundamentals, and execution, but we know what we're doing and where we're going. Because what really gets you killed on offense is when you go the wrong way, block the wrong guy. It's supposed to be a pass play and a guy blocks run. It's supposed to be a run play and a guy blocks pass. You're supposed to get a double team at a certain spot and a guy blocks out and doesn't double. Those are the things that really get you hurt real quick. So we want to make sure our assignments are up in that 95% efficiency and get it to where we feel like when we call play, our guys know what they're doing. So we don't carry a lot of run schemes. Now, there's a lot of window dressing behind those run schemes so that they look different, and we have ways to get the ball to the perimeter and ways to get the quarterback the ball. So there's window dressing that goes on, but up front, those are the 4 schemes we carry. All right, drop back passing, curl flat, mesh, flood, snag, 4 verticals, all things that we've carried in the last couple of years. Sometimes we carry them all. Sometimes we carry 3 of them with 1 or 2 others. All right, but, bottom line is those are things that we're going to look at doing in and out of almost every season. Quick game, we carry hitch concepts. We carry fade concepts. We carry slot out and outside receiver out concepts. We carry inside vertical, slot seam, slot fade, inverted smash, however you want to look at it. Those are things that we carry. So these are a lot of things that have been in our offense the last 5, 6, 7 years at the places that I've been involved in. And what you have to understand is you can't take these things and work on them in the offseason and put them together with your team and then after 1 week or 2 weeks completely change your system. And when you go to week 3, you're a completely different team than you were week 1. Okay? You've got to understand how to stay the course. You've got to understand how to analyze what the problems are with the schemes and how to fix them without wholesale changing the scheme unless you have injuries. Okay? Because in my opinion, if you spend time in the offseason and in the summer working on certain things, and 2 weeks into the season you've already changed, you don't really give your kids a chance. If they're having a hard time executing things that you've been working on for the last 3 months, how are they going to execute things that you're going to work on for 3 days? We've all been there before. When I was a younger coach, I did it a lot, and learned my lesson that, just because you're not having a lot of success doesn't mean you got to run other plays. Maybe you got to run the plays you're running better. If you go call other plays and you don't run those well, you're probably not going to have success with those either. You don't have to change schemes all the time. We've all played the team that you look at on film and you have 2 or 3 games on film, and when they come out and you play them, they're completely different than everything you've seen on film. All right, and sometimes there's a method to that where teams going into their first district week, they don't want to show you anything, so they run some other things and hope that they catch you off guard that first week. And sometimes there's a madness to it, to where those coaches, when they don't get results, they just change each week. So they're empty 1 week and they don't get good results, so they're pro eye the next week and they don't get good results, and they're 1 back 4 wide zone read the next week, they don't get good results, and then they're flex bone triple option the week after that. I've seen it happen. I've done it when I was younger. I've made that mistake before. I just don't think it's a way to get better as a football program. Your install that you've put together, you've probably spent a lot of time on. You've probably spent time with your staff on. You've probably spent time visiting places and going to see other offenses or defenses and what they do. If you spent time figuring out that these might be the schemes that you'd like to carry, all right, you got to do yourself a favor, all right, and stay with the things that you're doing and don't scrap them week 1 or week 2 because you don't like the results. Otherwise, you're kind of punching yourself in the face, and you're cutting off your nose to spite your face, and it's really not, in my opinion, in the long run, it's not what's going to lead to success. You've got to know how to analyze your schemes. You've got to know how to analyze your players. You got to know why certain things aren't working, and you've got to know how to fix those, and you've got to have some answers in your scheme. So I feel like I have a broad range of things here that if we're doing them the right way, we can attack, the field horizontally. We can attack the field vertically. We have enough things in the run game. We have enough things in the read game. We have enough conflict plays. I feel like there's enough here within this install, and obviously it's not the whole, template of what we're going to do, but as a core of our offense, I feel like there's enough things here that if we do them well, we can be successful. So what I have to understand is I have to understand what goes into the techniques, fundamentals, and execution of these schemes to get them done properly. And make sure that I'm coaching our players and our coaches to coach our players to do these things properly. Okay, so when it comes down to your install stuff, you've worked on it, you spent time on it. Okay, don't scrap it early in the year because you don't have results. The only time I would say that it may be beneficial to do that is you had a trigger guy, that was your be-all, end-all, he's done, and the backup quarterback cannot do it, you got to go to something else. You had a tailback that was the feature in the offense, and you were going to be a 22 personnel, 21 personnel team that was downhill runs, and he's the guy, and he's got to touch it 25 times, and he gets hurt. Okay, I get it. But if you're basing it off the results, don't base it off of 1 week or 2 week results, all right? Because your install that you put together was probably based on analyzing your returning players, who's coming back, what you need to do, the defenses you play. You spent a lot of time in the offseason putting together an install based on your strengths and weaknesses and what you think you need to win. To spend all that time putting together your install and studying schemes and going to clinics or colleges or other high schools, to spend all that time doing that, to scrap it in 2 weeks, just to me isn't logical. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. You've just wasted a heck of a lot of time in the offseason investing into schemes and techniques and things you think that can make you successful to just throw them out in the first 2 weeks. Okay, so you've got to understand what you're trying to do, how you're trying to accomplish it, okay, and you got to understand how to fix some of the issues you got. If at the end of the season things weren't where you needed them to be and you want to go in a different direction, well then that's what that next off season's for. That's what that next clinic season is for. Now start studying some other things that you want to go in a direction. Your players change and your personnel's changing. Do that in the off season. To do it in season mid-year, unless you have extenuating circumstances, that injuries, ineligible, suspensions. If you don't have those issues and you got the same players you thought you were going to have, probably need to stay within the realm of what you're doing and just do a better job coaching it and hope that the kids do a better job executing it. I think it's better for you, it's better for your players, it's better for your staff. You'll create better continuity within your coaches and your players. There'll be a better trust in your coaches and your players, because what'll happen, the other thing that'll happen when you do something like that is next year when you go to install, the kids are going to look and go, well, is this really what we're running, coach, or are you going to change week 2 again? So I think you can build some trust with your players and your coaching staff if you just steady the ship, stay the course, keep moving forward, working hard on the tweaks you need to make in there to come up with answers of why you're not maybe being successful. All right, but don't throw everything out the first 2 weeks. Don't throw it out because you had one bad game. Don't throw it out because you didn't score enough points in one game. Stay with what you believe in. You worked really hard to come up with that install. Stick to it. Work through it. At the end of the season, if you're going to change, go ahead and make your changes then. All right, guys. Remember to keep in mind that the first PlayFast football clinic will be in January. It'll be in St. Augustine, all right, in Florida in January 24th, 25th, 26th. We're getting ready to launch the website soon and have it open for people to register. All right, so make sure that you are, if you are a subscriber here, if you're not a subscriber, make sure you click the subscribe button, turn the notifications on so you know when we put out new videos. And if you like what we do and you want to become a better high school football coach, or you like hearing about high school football, the PlayFast Football Clinic will be all high school speakers talking about high school schemes, high school problems, high school solutions. So if you're a fan of what we've been doing the last couple of years, make sure you get ready to check out our Play Fast Football Clinic, the first one in January in St. Augustine. All right, I appreciate you watching. Hope this video helps. Good luck to everybody getting ready to start their season in the next couple weeks. We will put more videos out in the next couple weeks. Until that time, remember, you won't play well until you play fast. I'll see you guys next time.